This is my video log. I wanted to track some feelings that I'm having currently. Let's call this video log number one. And the reason why I'm doing video logs now, I was kind of inspired by my sister, Myella. Because she's deaf, she does everything, her communications via video. And I thought it was kind of dope, even though I don't read sign language. Um, it's something I can get off into, and I kind of enjoy it. Instead of me writing super long letters to myself, diary intro journals or whatnot, I'd be able to communicate verbally, and I can play it back for myself and work on that aspect of communicating my feelings. Nevertheless, I'm just now getting off work. It's around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was going down the street and I saw a brother. It's sprinkling right now, and I saw a brother out there just in the grass asleep. It's a street where I go down. It's just a big, wide, open area and number grass, and he was out there sleeping. And of course, he's homeless. And I've been seeing him for the past 3 weeks, maybe. I can almost remember when he first came into Fayetteville because first time I seen him, he was walking down a street with all his bags, and he was by the bus station. So I'm thinking, oh, he just got off the bus station and he had 3 bags carrying it. I didn't know if anything was wrong with the brother or not. I was on my way to work. I'm like, he's just making it to his destination. And when I got off work, it's nighttime, and I seen him by a particular highway. I'm like, oh, he might be homeless. And then the next day, I seen him in a spot in the same area a little bit down the street. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it was one of them deals. And he would do little peculiar things, and it will lead me to think that he's dealing with schizophrenia because of the kind of things he did. For example, after that particular day, he would, for hours, and I would watch him at a red light. He had a big white, it's not a note, it's bigger than a notepad. It's not a billboard exactly. It's a notepad that's very, very big. Big enough that if you was to write 3 words on there, you could see it from the street. And he would carry this around, and I was at a red light watching him, and it seemed like he would get inspired, and he'll just start scribbling, and then he'll hold up a sign and facing the street and have people read whatever it is. Well, I was too far away to see the sign, whatever he was writing, but one particular time, as I was going to work, he was on my side of the street, and he did that. He had a little inspired moment, and then when he held the sign up, it was a bunch of numbers, and he was looking serious, like he was really showing something. And I was like, that could be to me, that's an indicator of schizophrenia because of the whole patterns and disoriented thinking and whatnot. And I don't know, it just made sense to me. So a couple other times I got to see what he was writing, and it was really nonsense. It wasn't even of religious material. And then I saw, like, when you write and you fold the paper back so you get to the new piece of paper. Well, I saw the paper that he folded back while he was writing as I was passing by, and it had a whole bunch of words that and sentences that just didn't make sense. It was just gibberish, and I'm like, yeah, I really think he's dealing with schizophrenia. But he has like 3 bags, not bags and plastic bags, but like 2 suitcases and a duffel bag, and I guess he just changes his clothes in and out. But nevertheless, I gave that backdrop, just to speak about his condition, what I perceive it to be. But when I saw him just now, and as it was drizzling and he's out there sleeping, I was thinking, who's out there worried about him, or who is there to care about him? And to me, it's obvious that he needs some help. And I think I read somewhere, I heard somewhere that in this particular city, that 80% of our homeless deal with mental illness. And the way that this country itself, the United States, is built, we're not built to really have funds to take care of our mentally ill. So to hospital, and then if you ever dealt with somebody who has schizophrenia, to hospitalize somebody with that is almost impossible because they have to admit themselves on their own will unless they're a threat to themselves or to others. And so to get schizophrenic to a hospital and deal with doctors like that is really, really difficult. So he became a trigger for me. And I was thinking about my own mother. I was thinking about the whole gamut of feelings that I having, and every so often this happens, and it's like, dag, I don't have a family. It was one of those kind of moments. And before I got there, as I was watching the same brother that was out there in the grass thinking, it brought me to my own extent being homeless when I was roundabout in preschool or kindergarten. I actually want to say I was in kindergarten at this time. I was going to Baldwin Hills Elementary. And I only remember one particular day that we were living in a park. And I remember the day because it was the first day that we was there. And we were in the park, and my mom was looking for a place for us a good place to sleep. And she found it. It was a really supersized tree that we were leaning against. I mean, this tree was huge, and it wasn't huge in terms of up and down, but the width of it was like you can almost build a house inside of the tree trunk, And I remember just as a kid just marveling like, wow, this is a big tree, and the roots were like chairs. They came so far up and off the ground, and so my mom put me right there between the roots against the tree, and she sat next to me, and I don't know, I guess I wasn't paying attention. She pulled out this big thick comforter. I'm like, yeah, this will work. And she threw it across me. I remember asking, is this where we're going to sleep at, Mommy? And she's like, yeah, this is where we're going to sleep at. And I went to sleep. I rested well. I just remember how thick that comforter was and how big the tree was. It was like, I was good. I wasn't uncomfortable. And then next morning, I remember waking up and washing my face at the water fountain. And I don't remember what we did after that. And I don't remember sleeping in the park anytime after that. But my aunt later on in my adult life had told me that she remembered when me and my mom was sleeping in the park. And my mom would take me to school, back and forth from the park to the school. And she said everybody would marvel at how much my mom pushed for me to go to school regardless of her situation or whatnot. So, and of course, the natural question would be, why did anybody help? But that's another discussion altogether. It's not really relevant right now, but just thinking about that time, those times, and then there's several moments like that where we didn't know where we slept at. I remember a few gracious hotel managers or motel managers that allowed us to stay for one night and protect some rooms, and just going through stuff like that. And then, as I guess a natural thought progression, in my mind, things start getting really lonely really quickly. And I was wondering why that is. And it's like, I am going on, am I 32 yet? I'm going to be 32. One or two, either way. I'm in my 30s, and I am still affected by my childhood. And that seems ridiculous because I have been healed emotionally over so many stuff, and I feel like there's not a whole much more healing that I can go through. However, there are wounds there that I'm still suffering, even after understanding what a healthy relationship is, having a much healthier mindset now than I've ever had. I'm still affected by that stuff. And it's like, one, if I'm still affected, I can only imagine those that do not have a spiritual foundation, what they're dealing with and what they're going through. So like I said, I'm still devastated, and I was starting to choke up because being separated from my mom is very, very difficult, even though I have been separated from her from now going on close to 16, 17 years. And it doesn't get easier. You accept the reality, but it can't get easier because I wouldn't have moments like this where I feel like I just want to cry because it's like I'm not taking away from anyone who's lost a parent to death or lost a yeah, really to death. I've been told that's a different kind of pain, something that I've never experienced. But at least you know that your parents are gone, and that has to be an accepted reality that they're not coming back. They can't. It's in death. You know, in some ways, I feel almost trapped emotionally because the one parent that I've had is still here, but has never really functioned as a parent for me and cannot be there for me emotionally as I imagine most parents can be for their children. And I've never really had that. So I experience withdrawal from that sometimes. I remember being in foster homes and on the holidays being very withdrawn. And even when I've been in those foster homes where they're very compassionate and caring and they will want me to partake in the family festivities, they will always wonder why I've had an attitude or stuff like that. It was nothing personal against them, and I didn't realize this until I became older. But those times were very difficult for me because I wanted to be in my own family and I wanted to share those moments in my own household. But I will never have gotten that. By the time I turned 14, I was in long term permanent foster. I was a permanent foster child. You know, if you can imagine, most people can't even imagine that. Knowing, I knew at 14 when I went back into the system, I was never coming out. You know, and that's a hard thing to deal with. So in the foster homes that I was in during those time during my teenage years, and Christmas would come around, and I would just be very withdrawn and very aloof. A lot of people don't know emotionally what I was going through during those times. It was super super difficult. And like I said, there's been some homes where they really did reach out to me and wanted me to partake, but it's like at the in your mind, and even though they try to create an environment where you are family, you know that this isn't your family. Your family is wherever they may be, and even if your family doesn't want you, or even if your family isn't will never be available, that's not the point. The point is you look at all the happiness that's going around you and you see people sharing and caring and having a good time, and it's like you want that for your own natural family, and it just never be. So I was dealing with that for a very long time, and I thank God that I have my own family now where I don't go through those bouts as much as I used to. But like I said, on nights like tonight, every so often I get a trigger that will instantly bring me back to that place and that time in my life, and it will kind of open a few wounds that I didn't realize are there for me, and they'll bring up all these conflicted feelings and all these different thoughts about things that I missed as a child. It's supposed to be normal to have your mother and father at home to help nourish and build up a child. And I firmly believe that child needs both sides in order for it to be a healthy home. There are people that are successful in single parent homes and There are people that do all right and okay, and that's not what I'm referring to, but it just helps. A family is built to be a family, and there's nothing that can replace that. No matter how hard we work, whatever my own father's excuse is or was, the point, I should say, the fact is, he has never been relevant in my life. Other than me meeting him 3 times that I can remember, he has been such a non-factor that I don't even call on his name. I don't even conceptualize who he is when I say family. That's how deep this is. Like, the dude is such a stranger to me that it's like, who has daddies growing up? You know what I mean? That wasn't my reality. And then when I think about my mother, again, there's a big, big lack that's there that, for the purpose, I just don't feel like going through the whole detail. I'm not explaining on this video, but it will just never be. And yet, I still think about her current condition. And yet, I still think about all the things that she has endured, due to her mental condition and due to her financial circumstances. And it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. There's no other word that I can come up with. It's super overwhelming. So I didn't have plans on expressing all that. I was going to talk about something a little more simpler, but why not? It's my first video log officially, so I'm going to keep it at that.